Tonight, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says strikes on Iran have set its nuclear program back, and I'm quoting him now, a very long time. But based on CNN analysis of one of the secretive Iranian nuclear facilities, eliminating the program altogether could prove incredibly difficult without more time, larger bombs, and assistance from the United States. The Fordow plant, the nuclear plant, has been a key target of Israel's over the last several days, and we have new satellite images that show just how hard it could be to take out and why. If you look at this, you see there's a security perimeter protecting what appears to be a heavily fortified mountain layer, and it's believed that hundreds of centrifuges placed nearly 300 feet underground are working to enrich uranium that could be ultimately used for nuclear bombs. There are small entrances to the tunnel and support structures for the plant beneath it. And despite Israel's attempts to hit the site, including with a drone that Iran claims it shot down, the International Atomic Energy Agency says that no damage has been done to the site as of today. Joining me tonight is the retired Army Major General Randy Manner, who once led an agency responsible for helping monitor nuclear weapons in Iran, and also the former State Department Middle East negotiator, Aaron David Miller. And it's so great to have you here. Major, let me start with you, just given what we are seeing with this facility and very clear desire by Iran to be able to, or by Israel to dismantle Iran's nuclear program. There's a real question about the feasibility of actually accomplishing that. What is your thoughts on this?
So the Israelis have the ability to damage the buildings on the surface as well as the entrances and the power going into it and so on. They do not have the capability to actually penetrate into as far into the reinforced concrete as they need. They don't have the weapons, and we have not shared them with them. And although we have weapons that can do that, that is a U.S. decision.
Obviously, that's a U.S. decision. That is what we are watching for closely tonight. And so far, we're hearing from officials denying any kind of speculation that the United States is getting involved on an offensive measure here and helping Israel with that. But Aaron, this comes as the Times is reporting tonight, the New York Times, that the president has asked and encouraged his vice president, J.D. Vance, and also Steve Witkoff, who is the envoy to the Middle East, to meet with Iranians this week as they are essentially deciding what the next step here is going to look like. One, do you see the Iranians accepting a meeting like that? Are they desperate to have something like that happen at this time?
I mean, I think they're, thanks for having me, Caitlin. It's great to be here with the General. Look, I think they're desperate to avoid a major military move by the United States against Fordow. And I think it's hard to read this, right? I mean, President Trump is committed. He ran on not starting new wars, but ending them. Here's a guy who appears to be committed to not entering the conflict until he may be ready to. So this is one of two things. Either they've made a decision, and he's orchestrated this in a very dramatic way, leaving the G7. Of course, there may be 1,000 other reasons why he didn't want to stay. Going back to Washington to orchestrate a national security meeting, you've got a lot of hardware moving into this region now. Long-range tankers for refueling aircraft, which you would rely on if, in fact, the United States, I defer to the general here, was going to engage in serious air sorties over Iran. And remember, as one retired Israeli general said to me, we're playing soccer with the Israelis. The only difference is they have no goalie. So Iran is completely and utterly vulnerable to Israeli airstrikes. Imagine the prospect of B-2 bombers, Spirit bombers deployed in Diego Garcia, carrying these massive ordnance penetrators, these GBU-57s, 30,000 pounds, 20 feet long, and dropping these in Fordow. The president may well do what Bush 41 did when he sent James Baker to Geneva to meet with Tariq Aziz, the Iraqi, before a week or so before the start of the first Gulf War. So maybe Trump is orchestrating this to make the Iranians an offer he hopes they won't refuse. I suspect they will refuse it.
So, Major, walk us through that. What does that look like in terms of options that are before President Trump right now? I mean, what kind of, when he's convening his national security team in the sit room and maybe meeting with them as soon as he gets back, what do those options look like in front of him?
Well, first of all, we have to remember that the position of the United States has been to provide defensive capability to Israel to protect it and to augment its ability to intercept missiles and drones. That mission probably will continue, and the president would probably be highly supportive of that. And so ships as well as ground-based capabilities would be doing that. At the same time, our objective is to protect our own bases that are in the region, because we have substantial Army, Navy, and Air Force bases there in Qatar, Bahrain, and Kuwait. So we want to make sure to protect those. Now, if, as far as a tool that the president has, we have what is called the Massive Ordnance Penetrator. It's a 30,000-pound bomb. It was actually developed while I was the acting and deputy director of the Defense Threat Reduction Agency. It's run by the Air Force. It is only conveyed by B-2 bombers. It does have the ability to penetrate into these kinds of bunkers. It's rather an amazing weapon. The way to think about this is, think about Star Wars, where Han Solo is putting that missile on that small elevator shaft. That's the same concept. I have seen this thing hit a 2-meter square. That's how accurate it is. So it's something where we just need to be aware that the president has these opportunities. It does not mean that he has to use them, but sometimes just Iran knowing that we publicly have this capability can hopefully bring enough force to be the threat of use of force to bring them to the table for negotiation.
Aaron David Miller, on that front, though, if the president or the vice president and Steve Witkoff are going into this, and we're talking about a weakened Iran, which everyone can see here, given the result of Israel's first strike last week, there are still moments though where Israel's targeting their surface-to-surface missile infrastructure, but Iran is still launching missiles at Israel and is overwhelming sometimes the Iron Dome. We've seen them making it through and killing people and injuring people in Israel. What does the state of that look like if you're trying to assess how much strength Iran does have right now?
That's a very good question. I mean, the Israelis claim they've literally destroyed a third of Iran's ballistic missile launchers. You can have 10,000 missiles. If you don't have the launchers to project them, they don't represent a threat. And if you look at the pattern of launches by the Israelis over the last 4 days, the waves have diminished. And you're quite right, Caitlin, 5 to 10% of these have gotten through Iron Dome, David Sling, and Arrow, which intercepts them just outside of the Earth's atmosphere. Some of these will get through in half, and they've caused something that the Israelis have not seen since October 7, and that is at least 10 to 15 sites of what you and I would agree was major destruction, and the deaths of at least, by the last count, 24 Israelis. But the public is prepared, I think, inured as they are, to the trauma of October 7, to basically see this one through. The question I have, regardless of whether or not the president makes the decision to use these MOPs dropped by B-52 bombers, B-2 bombers, is what constitutes an Israeli victory? Exactly what do the Israelis want to do? Because in the end, if this stops with Iran's nuclear program still capable of reconstituting itself, even if it took 6 months to a year, then it strikes me the objectives of the Israeli operation were not successful. And it may well be that the president has decided, if the Iranians reject this effort, to put his thumb on the scale.
Yeah, I mean there's a huge question about what that looks like. Aaron David Miller, Major General Randy Manor, it's great to have you both here with your expertise. Thank you so much for joining us. Up next, a MAGA split is happening over Iran and what the president does decide to do.